Hi everyone, it's me Amanda with Once in a Wild here on Facebook and YouTube live stream. It is Wednesday, so you know what that means. It's time for our program. It's 3:30 as well. So every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday until further notice. When things start getting better, we'll probably change some of the times and things like that. But for now, we're staying with the same times at 3:30 p.m. Central Time, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're having a live stream here on Facebook and YouTube, and we also stream over on Instagram too, for those of you that prefer Instagram. Today, we're going to be having a live snake feeding, and we're not feeding a live feeder. It's going to be a frozen thawed feeder. So just so you know, I don't film animals eating live food. That is not what we're all about here, but we will be feeding our snake here, who's hanging out right next to me. This is David Boa. He's here today. Now remember, all of our live streams are free, but there are a couple of ways that you can help us out, and actually several ways you can help us out. The first way is to go to our Venmo. So Venmo is at Once in a Wild. Our last four of our phone number is 5240 if you need that information too. Sometimes it asks for that. And that is the way you can tip us directly or donate to our cause, whatever you would have in your heart to give to us. That is really, really great and really appreciated. And also there is our Amazon wish list. Amazon wish list is a really great way and fun way to donate items directly to us. You can go to our Amazon wish list by going to onceinawild.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom, go to that box that says donate to our cause, and that's where you're going to click, and that is where it's going to lead you straight to that wish list that we've created with all kinds of fun animal items that you can donate to our animals, like David, like some of the animals that we're going to see today. And that is a great way to help us out as well. And thank you to those of you that have already donated, tipped, and sent us items from Amazon. Pretty awesome. And thank you to our friends, family, and followers for joining in. If this is your first time seeing me, nice to see you for the first time. Welcome. My name is Amanda once again, and this is Once in a Wild. So let's go ahead and get started. Hooray! It's so good to see everybody today. We missed you over Tuesday. We don't do programs on Tuesdays for live stream. One thing that we are doing as well is Zoom room animal encounters. You guys can call us or email us or get a hold of us somehow on social media to find out how you can do your personal Zoom room animal encounter. It's very similar to this, unless you're just wanting the full tour or something like that. You can actually hire us for the entire tour, a virtual tour of our entire animal collection if you would like to. But what you can do is customize your time, your of course time of duration, and your animals that you would like to participate in your virtual program. And just contact us for further details. You can get those booked, and we are filling up spots, so call us right away and let me know when you want those programs. They're great for homeschoolers, and they're great for parties, and they're great for general fun office parties. We did an office visit the other day, a virtual visit. That was really, really fun. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, you see on the banner there, it says live snake feeding. Again, we are going to be feeding our friend here, David Boa. David Boa is joining us today. That's why. Oh, and Ricardo is reminding me here on the comments that we also have gift cards. He's actually linking that that link down there in the comments down below on Facebook. So if you guys want to go to that comment, you can click on that. You can also find that on our link tree. I think there's a link on Facebook as well. We'll get that running if there's not, and it's gonna be on the website really soon. There's also a link on Instagram too. If you guys want to give gift cards to your friends and family, they are really, really cool gifts. Those can go towards virtual programs, or when we're back open again, they can go towards live animal programs. So that's a really fun thing that we just started. So I totally forgot to mention that. And thank you guys for all of your patience as usual with me as we're learning new things. And again, I'm gonna hide this banner now, but we are doing a snake feeding today. And now when I say live, that doesn't mean a live animal is going to be fed to the snake. I don't do that, and I don't film that. But we are going to be feeding a live snake live here on live stream. So that should be fun. And we'll save that for the end of the program for those of you that are uncomfortable with snake feedings. And that is perfectly understandable. So this here, let's talk about him first, since he's out already, right? This is David Boa. And David Boa is a Columbian Boa Constrictor. Now, he is in his little tank here, and he doesn't live in this tank, so don't worry. He has a lot more room behind the scenes. This is just what I placed him in for you guys to see him today. I know on Instagram he's kind of hiding his face, but don't worry, he'll come over whenever we feed him for sure. He's a good eater, so that's why I selected him today. It's also his feeding day today, so I wanted to go ahead and show you guys that too if you're interested in watching. It's pretty cool. He is a Columbian Boa Constrictor. I'm not holding him today since we are feeding him. I don't want to be holding the snake and then feeding him right afterwards. I don't want him to associate me with feeding. I mean, he knows that I feed him, but I don't want to associate handling him with feeding, if that makes sense. That's how you oftentimes accidentally get bitten by snakes, is when they think that your hands are food, etc. So you don't want to be smelling like their food and all of that. So he's going to stay in his miniature show enclosure right here. I lost my camera again. So sorry, guys. I forgot to do something very important. And that was to hit a certain button. I'm still here. I'm still here. I promise. There I am. Let's not let that happen again. It happens so much. I'm so sorry about that. So in between animals, I'll try to check my camera every single time. Let me check it really fast. I'll be right back. Okay, so sorry about that. As you might imagine, this is a one-man show, one-woman show, so I do everything myself. Sometimes I forget little things like that, but don't worry, I'm still here. So, like I said, this is David. David Boa is his name. He is a Columbian Boa Constrictor. They are from Colombia, right? So this type of boa constrictor can be found throughout Central and South America, but this locality is specifically the Colombian variety. But boa constrictors are found all over Central and South America like this, ones that look just like this. And this would be like kind of the most common type. And I believe the largest type as well. They do get quite large, and females of this species can get anywhere from 12 to 14 feet. That is extremely large for the species, but usually 10 to 12 feet is pretty average for a female. And they get pretty heavy as well. I don't remember how heavy they can get, but they are pretty hefty ladies. And also the males can get anywhere from 6 to 10 foot. 10 foot would be the most large a male could ever get that I know of. But usually 6 to 8 foot is average for a male Columbian boa constrictor. Now, since they're a boa constrictor, that means he is not a venomous snake. That means that he squeezes his prey. So as a snake, of course, he is not a vegetarian by any means. Snakes don't eat salad or fruits and vegetables. They eat other animals. They are predators. They're carnivores. So being a carnivore, he has to eat other animals. So how they would hunt in the wild is basically by ambushing their prey. Now, they might climb trees a little bit as younger individuals and as sometimes as older individuals. These guys can climb trees a little bit. So they are semi-arboreal, but most of the time they're going to sit very still somewhere, whether it be in a lower tree or on the ground. They're going to sit very still and kind of wait for movement to happen of prey. And when that prey walks by or flies by or skitters by or whatever, they're going to strike very, very fast and very, very hard. They're going to use their teeth to grab that prey. Remember, they don't have fangs because they are non-venomous, but they are an animal that has teeth. Regardless, their teeth are very, very sharp, but they're also very tiny, and they're kind of like in rows. And their teeth are pointed backwards, facing into their mouth. But they will grab that animal, kind of like this, pull it in, wrap around the animal with the first kind of third of their body section, give it a really, really tough squeeze like this, and wait for the animal to be ready to eat. If you know what I mean, the animal has passed away. And then they eat their food whole. So a snake like this, as well as most snake species, can eat an animal about 3 times the size of their own head. That would be like me swallowing a watermelon in one gulp. I can't do that, so I'm not going to demo today. That's why we're feeding the snake. So you guys can see that actually happening. Now, how in the world can they do that? Well, their jaw is designed very, very different than ours. Our jaw is kind of just one flapping piece like that. We're kind of like a little sock puppet. We just do that with our food. We have to crunch up our food, right? Make sure I'm in focus. We have to crunch up our food to be able to eat it in pieces and swallow it like that after we've chewed it up. They don't chew their food, they eat it whole. So he has a very different jaw. So his jaw essentially is not fused right here. It's partially not fused right here too, but especially here on the bottom jaw, it is very, very separated inside his bone is inside the jaw there. And right here is extremely stretchy. So right here in the back, on either side, this can stretch out really far. So they can open up really big like this, but since they're not fused here and here, they can also open up really wide this way. So they make room this way and they make room this way, and then they can easily kind of just like swallow that food. And you're going to get to see that demo here at the end of the program, right? So we'll talk more about that later. But that is how they do that. Pretty amazing. Hello, Lauren. Nice to see you. Of course, Ricardo and Donna. And hello, Leo. Nice to see you guys. Nice to see everybody here over here on Instagram. Let's see who's checking in. If anybody has any questions so far. Nice to see everybody joining in. Thank you very much for following us. Ricardo says, like Predator or the vampires from Blade 3. Not really either. I don't think. Very, very different. I'll get back to you on that. I'm not sure what you're asking. Maybe specify your question a little bit better. Clarify for me, and I'll see if I can answer that question. But Predator does have a crazy mouth, doesn't he? That's a crazy mouth. But maybe that's what you're talking about, how their mouth is. It's a little bit different than that, but maybe clarify for me a little bit. Do me a favor. But yes, so that is how they eat their food. Now, this snake is an amazing species. They're one of the largest snake species in the entire world. Like I said, the females can get upwards of 14 feet, which would be extremely large for this species, but usually 10 to 12 foot is what they max out on. Now, the reason that the females are larger than the boys is because the females have the babies, don't they? Males can't have babies. This is a little bit of a lesson for you kiddos out there. Guess what? Boys can't have babies. Only girls can have babies. So in some species of reptiles, snakes, etc., other animals, the females are larger. So female sharks are usually larger too, because they have babies and the males don't. So the males don't have to carry the babies. So the males don't have to have all that extra kind of body to basically go through a birth and then still have some body fat to be healthy afterwards. So a boa constrictor is a live bearing animal. They don't lay eggs. That's a big difference between boa constrictors and pythons. Generally speaking, pythons lay eggs and boa constrictors give live birth. That's a big difference between the two type of constrictors. They're both constrictor, right? And they eat their prey very similarly, and they constrict their prey very similarly. But a boa constrictor female would give live birth after mating with the male. So the males don't have to be very big to be able to make babies. They don't do much afterwards, right? So after they come together for breeding, they're going to leave. And then the mom will be gravid or pregnant. So gravid is kind of like a word we use for reptiles when they're with child, if you will. So when that female is gravid for a while and then she has her babies, the babies come out live. And they can have litters of babies, anywhere from 20, 30, 60, maybe even 70 babies. I've heard of these guys having lots and lots of babies, depending on the fertility, the genetics, and the size of the female. But having all those babies, afterwards, you need to be able to have enough body fat to go on as a wild animal. Wild animals have to fend for themselves. They have to eat on their own. They have to find their food. They have to survive in the wild, right? So going through that pregnancy might be a toll on that female's body. So having extra reserves, if you will, is going to help her survive. And hello, other people tuning in. Yes, okay, so that's what you were talking about, Ricardo. So the boa opens the mouth kind of like Predator, or the vampires from Blade through it. It's pretty cool. Here's a good question from Alejandro. Hello, Ale, nice to see you. How much these snake can eat? How much can they eat? I don't mean to make fun of you. I'm just trying to read the question. How much can they eat? So they usually eat about once a week. Here at Wild Encounters. Wild Encounters was another department I used to work for. Whoops. Once in a While. That's what we are. Here at Once in a While and Wild Encounters when I worked there. Wild Encounters was at Dallas Zoo when I worked there. Similar name, right? Ugh, so sorry. Here at Once in a Wild, that's the name of our company. Once in a Wild, we feed these guys about once a week. And that is plenty for a snake to eat. Once a week is actually pretty frequent. Sometimes these guys can go months, maybe even up to a year without eating. So a tropical snake, like a Columbian Boa Constrictor, is usually going to have a very warm climate, right? So tropics. There's not really seasons there in Colombia where they live. It might be a little cooler every now and then, but they're going to stay pretty warm all the time. So their metabolism is going all year. So these guys would eat more frequently than a snake that has to go through seasons and maybe even hibernate and things like that. But this type of snake, if they're big enough and they have enough reserves like that female we talked about, she can go a year without eating and still survive. It wouldn't be ideal for them, but they don't have to eat very often. So what they'll do is they'll be able to eat an animal up to 3 times the size of their head. So that's how large they can eat. So if you have a very large snake, it could eat something like a capybara, like for example, anaconda down there in South America, where these guys are from too. They're both from the same continent. They're going to eat things like capybara. Capybara is a great big giant rodent. It looks like a giant aquatic guinea pig. It's huge. It's like over 150 pounds. So big enough snake, they can eat that. Some big snakes can eat deer. This type of snake doesn't get quite as large as an anaconda at top size, but they can eat things like large rodents. Certainly a large rabbit. I don't know if rabbit would be like really on the menu down in South America, but they could eat large birds, etc. So those guys can eat all kinds of larger prey. And hello, everyone. Cedric, hi, it's your birthday? Is it really? Happy birthday, Cedric. Cedric is one of our frequent flyers here at Once in a While live stream, and we're happy to see you again, and happy birthday if that is the case. Happy birthday. I'm not sure what you're asking, Jameson. Is he kind of like an I'm not sure what you're asking, so maybe you can clarify for me as well. I'm having trouble. If you're asking if he's arboreal, I don't know what that word is. Sorry about that. If you're asking if they're arboreal, they're semi-arboreal, which means they can go in the trees sometimes. So semi-arboreal for the species. Hello, Ivan. Nice to see you as well. Thank you for joining in. Hello. What are we feeding them? Well, you'll have to wait and see. So we are going to be feeding this snake here on the live stream here in a little bit. Someone's asking what we feed them. So our larger snakes here usually get rats, and that's what we're feeding today to David here. And some of our other snakes get mice, smaller rats, medium rats, smaller mice, depending on the size of the snake. So usually it's rodents. Rodents are one of the best meals for them, if that makes sense. Okie dokie. Haha, Wild Encounters. It was Wild Encounters. That's where I used to work. At Dallas Zoo, worked in the department called Wild Encounters. That's what that was. But we're once in a wild. Sometimes I get tongue twisted. Sorry about that. So you meant arboreal. So that just means they're able to climb trees. So they can. These guys can a little. They're not super inclined to be in the trees all the time because they are a pretty heavy snake once they get very large as well. So I'm going to answer your question. And hello, Priscilla. How's it going? I think I covered everyone. Oh my gosh. But yes, I hope that answered your question, Ale. I hope that answered everybody's question too. What was I talking about? So these guys are amazing snakes. A lot of people are afraid of snakes. Shout out to you guys who are afraid of snakes. We did not bring any lizards today, Priscilla. We brought some other surprises today, though. Yes, that does make more sense, does it? Haha. Yes. So these guys are amazing snakes. They are totally harmless to humans. Now, being a larger type snake, you know, we want to make sure and use precaution once they get so big because they might be able to give you a bigger bite, etc. But remember, they're non-venomous. These guys don't really cause any harm to humans. They're not out to get humans. Even larger snakes like anacondas, reticulated pythons, Burmese pythons, none of those guys are like inclined to go after humans. A lot of people ask me, can they eat a person? That is so super rare that it really shouldn't even be a thing at all to talk about. It has only happened like a couple of times ever. And that is probably a very small person or a very starved snake. So it really doesn't happen ever. There are many, many other animals that are much more dangerous to humans than non-venomous snakes. Ricardo has a question to you. Is David Boa as big as they get? No. So these guys, I did cover this already. David Boa is pretty young. I don't forget his age. He's a youngster over here, a couple of years old, maybe 2 or 3. So he's what we would call a juvenile size. And he is, I want to say about 5 foot at this rate. He could get anywhere from 6 to 8. I do anticipate him being quite a large specimen because he's already pretty big for his age and whatnot. He's grown very, very fast. When I first got him, he could fit right in the palm of my hand. He was super tiny. Maybe I'll show you guys a photo of him later. I didn't prepare any photos today, so forgive me, but he was so tiny, and look how big he's gotten in just a couple of years. But these guys can, for a male, they can get 6 to 8 foot, maybe 10 foot for a very, very, very large specimen. But reptiles never stop growing their entire life. So the longer they live, and as long as they're getting regular meals, and as long as everything's good, they're going to keep growing. Do you guys know what snakes have to do when they grow? They have to shed their skin. So about once a month, David Boa, as well as most of my other snakes, will shed their skin about once a month, more or less, depending on what's going on. And they'll shed their skin. That skin will kind of turn opaque. We call it blue. And they get cloudy in the eyes and everything because snakes don't have any eyelids. They have scales over their eyes. They have clear scales. So all of their scales on that epidermis will turn very, very opaque. They will look a different color. And then once it clears out, a couple of days or so after it clears, they'll shed their skin, just like you turn, like you're taking a sock off inside out and it just comes off. It looks like a pantyhose taking inside out. And then they can grow. So their top layer of skin doesn't grow with them like our skin does. Did you guys know that we shed our skin all the time too? We're just shedding flakes of skin all the time. So that's how humans grow and whatnot. But these guys have to shed their skin all in one piece. Isn't that cool? And how old can they get? Good question, Ale. How old can they get? These guys can live usually into their late 20s, maybe mid 30s. So late 20s, 30s is average. But I've known snakes to live longer than that. So it really just depends. It's kind of like people. Depending on your genetics, you might live into your 70s. You might live into your hundreds, just depending on that. So anywhere from, I would say, 30 to late 40s, something like that. Long time. They live a long time. And sometimes, maybe not. Maybe it just depends on their genetics and their health and their care. Depends on how well taken care of they are. Out in the wild, they're going to live a lot less, because they're fending for themselves. They might have things like diseases and parasites and have to find their own food. Temperature changes, climate change, all those things can affect them. So yeah, it just kind of depends. So out in the wild, it's about half of what they would live in human care, because in human care, they have all their needs provided. They have a safe place to live from predators. Even though they're predators, it doesn't mean they don't have predators, especially when smaller. Some of their predators might include, well, in South America, there's several large cat species like jaguar and puma, and there's medium cats like ocelots. They might eat them. Birds of prey often eat these guys too, etc. So there's several things like that that might prey upon them. So it just kind of depends on the situation. But in the care of humans, they live a long time, usually. Humans are more dangerous. Yes, we are. We're the most dangerous animal on the planet, aren't we? I'm more afraid of humans sometimes. Not generally, I'm not. But I'm more afraid of humans than I am of snakes, that's for sure. And that is a big difference in a short amount of time. He is hurried up and grown pretty quickly. And he eats really well, as you're going to see in a little bit. Pantyhose snakes. Yep, that's exactly what it looks like. Only with scales. So pretty cool. Any other questions about our beautiful boa constrictor? You can see his beautiful markings. So all the markings on his back, we call the back a dorsal. Dorsal is your back. So all the markings on his dorsal, they kind of look like little bow ties from above, if you were to see them from above. But those are called saddles. And the saddle markings are different on each individual boa constrictor. So like almost every other animal, his pattern is going to be unique to his individual self. So it's kind of like your fingerprint. Isn't that amazing? And every single snake, believe it or not, has their own personality too. Okay, guys. Let's see if we have any questions over on Instagram, just in case. Someone says they're not a fan of snakes, but we respect them. That's very important. We do not expect you guys to fall in love with every single animal that we have here at Once in a Wild. That's what we're called. Once in a Wild. It's right here in case you didn't know. There's our logo right there on Facebook. Here Once in a While, we want to make sure that you guys know it's okay if you don't like snakes. It's okay if you don't like spiders, etc. It's okay if you don't like birds. Some people don't like birds. I had a small child one time get really scared of one of our tortoises. And though I thought it was so interesting that she was scared of a tortoise. But, you never know. It's okay if you don't like certain animals. So we want to make sure that you guys respect the animals, right? Because snakes are very, very important. They're far more beneficial than they are harmful to humans and all animals. So these guys are predators, and they're in the food chain to be a predator. Food chain is, we have predators, you have prey, you got everything in between, right? These guys, of course, they have predators too when they're small, but once they get large, they're a top predator. Pretty amazing. And it's really important to have predators in the food chain, right? Because that takes care of pest animals like rodents and things like that. So too many rodents, not a good thing, right? Too many rodents, too many diseases, too many parasites for us humans. They might take over. So we definitely need predators to keep the prey animals in check, right? Very important. And most snakes, in fact, every snake doesn't want to harm you. All snakes are more afraid of people than you are of them. They're scared of you, so they want nothing to do with being picked up in the wild. Please don't pick up snakes in the wild. Please don't harm snakes in the wild. They want to be left alone. They want to be able to live to see another day and do their job. But I appreciate you saying that and being honest and saying that you don't really care for snakes. If you guys have more questions, feel free to private message me over on Instagram. And I always try to get back to the questions if there's anything on Instagram is a little bit hard because when it saves the video, it doesn't let me necessarily look at all the comments. But if you guys have a burning question, feel free to ask me anytime on private message. You're more than welcome to do that. Okay. I don't know why your audio is messing up. I don't think anybody else is having an issue. Just keep trying. So let me know if anybody over here is having any issues too. Here's a good question. Priscilla asks, every time he changes, does his marking change? Not really. So what can change is he could heal. So just like, I'm trying to think of an example, but just like if you got a scab, you might have a little scar from the scab, but a general, like a scratch or something like that, as long as it scabs over, heals well, you're going to look the same underneath, right? As long as it's not too big of an injury. It's kind of similar to that. It's just skin. It's going to be the same the underneath. So they don't really change, but that being said, this species doesn't, but a lot of baby snakes change color as they grow. We talked about that on some other programs, right? We brought some of our Baird's rat snakes and some of the other snakes that we brought, and some lizards also change as they mature. But once they are at that mature color, they're going to stay like that. Does that make sense? But a lot of snakes and animals in general, even like mammals and things and birds, they look different as babies and they get different feathers, different fur, different scale coloration. So yeah, I kind of take it back. For this species, not so much. They tend to kind of stay pretty much the same. He doesn't go through a drastic change or anything like that. But most baby snakes actually do change a little bit into adulthood. So it just depends on the species. That is a great, great question. And yes, Ale says, snake lives matter. That is true. Just because animals are different than us, they shouldn't be judged for being less important, right? So I wouldn't want to be judged for the way that I look or the way that I act or being different than other people. I know I'm different than other people and it's okay to judge me, but I don't like to be judged. And for that reason, I don't like when animals are judged because they look different. But that's why I think that people are afraid of them. They don't have any legs. They're kind of different than us. Maybe we're taught to be scared of them. There are definitely snakes that are dangerous. Don't handle those guys. Don't go out, holding snakes that are wild. Number one, we want to make sure those snakes stay safe and live. Number two, they might be dangerous to you as a human. So we want to make sure you guys are staying safe. So we don't recommend like going up and picking up wildlife in general. Don't pick up raccoons. Don't pick up birds. Don't pick up anything in the wild unless you're a professional, and etc. But we don't want to also harm them or judge them just because they're different. I think that's why that people don't like them sometimes. Can I hold him? So I did answer this already as well. Yes, in general I can, but I'm not going to today because he is going to be getting fed. So I don't want to associate him getting held with getting fed. That's how we train snakes. Believe it or not, snakes can be trained. He definitely knows when feeding time is. He will smell the food and he will know that I'm about to feed him. You'll be able to see that change in behavior a little bit. He's very calm right now, which is usually how they are. They're very calm and not doing much. But like I said, they're ambush predators. They sit around all day. But normally, yes, I can hold him just fine, but I don't want to associate that with feeding. So I'm not holding him today. Plus, he's a lot easier to talk about if I don't have my hands full like this. He's a very wiggly snake. Sound is good here? Good. I'm so glad. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to our next creature. David's going to stay out the entire time, and we are going to feed him at the end, remember. So he's just going to be out here on the table. I have another animal that we're actually going to try to feed live here on the live stream, if you guys don't mind. I figured you guys would like to see that. And this is a very different animal, though. Let's get everything ready. I'm prepared for y'all. And I have to, forgive me, I have to put this on the table first so that everybody can see It is just a jar. Jar. What is this? It's a thing. You see him? A very different animal. Hopefully you guys can see him on Instagram, and I'll just be behind the glass over on Instagram. Hopefully you can hear me. And also, if we get caught up on Instagram, don't forget I will restart the feed. And speaking of cameras, I'm going to go ahead and I'll be right back. I'm going to check my camera really fast. I'm getting in the habit of checking the camera for technical difficulties in between each animal, so I'll be right back. Okay, looking good. So this here is a really cool guy. His name is Francis. Now I say guy, but I really don't know. So Francis is a very young African bullfrog. I know he looks huge on the camera, but he's actually pretty small. You can see how small. Now he's big for a frog, but... And yes, another name for the African bullfrog is the Pixie Frog. You might be thinking that's weird. If they're a big frog, why are they called the Pixie Frog? Well, that's because in their scientific name, partially is called Pixiecephalus. Pixiecephalus is part of their scientific name. That's why they call them Pixie Frog for short. But the African bullfrog is what they are. And this is a very, very large species of frog. In fact, it's one of the largest species of frog. I think they're the second largest in the world. They get about this big. And they are round and fat. And that is not an insult. That's just how they look. They're round and fat. That's how they're supposed to look. Males are larger than females, which is weird when it comes to being a frog. Just like boa constrictors, the females tend to be bigger because of having eggs and having babies. This is an egg-laying animal, by the way. If he comes towards me, don't worry. He'll come back over here in a little bit when I start to feed him. But I'm going to feed him in just a little bit. So the African bullfrog is really neat. Oh, you can see all my lights in the reflection. It's hard to when you have all this glass and things. So African bullfrogs are really cool in a lot of ways. They are huge. Males are bigger than females, like I said. Now, that is because they are single dads. So what happens with these guys, it's very unique in the animal kingdom. Most frogs actually don't even care for their young. There's a few that do. In fact, one of my favorite frogs is the poison dart frog. All of those guys, there's several different types of poison dart frog, right? Poison dart frogs do care for their babies and their eggs. And there are other species too. But generally speaking, amphibians just kind of lay their eggs and then they're on their own. But this type of frog does not do that. And their babies take a long time to grow up. But the dad will actually take care of those babies for a long, long time. So what generally happens is, okay, we'll start from the beginning. So these guys are an African species, the African bullfrog, right? And the African bullfrog, being an African animal, they don't really have seasons, but they do have the wet season and the dry season. So during the dry season, as an amphibian, amphibians have to stay wet all the time. So during the dry season, they'll actually burrow underneath the ground and they will create a really nasty thing. They'll kind of create a snot ball, a layer of snot, and I'm not kidding, it's mucus, and they'll cover their whole body in it like a big snot bag. And that's how they stay moisturized through the dry season. They'll go underground to stay safe and to hibernate, essentially. We call it bermating, but they hibernate. And that's how they survive through the dry season, to stay, and they can just kind of go to sleep. But then when it starts raining again in the wet season, they start to wake up. The rain will kind of drip down underground where they're at. They'll start to wake up. And then, can you see them? And then they will come alive and dig out of where they've gone underground. And they'll kind of break free of their snot bag. And then the water will start to moisturize their skin as it should. And then when the ponds start filling up again, the swamps and the ponds and the rivers and everything that these guys actually live in, they'll start to sing for the ladies. They'll start singing and making bullfrog sounds and calling out to all their lady friends and also establishing a bit of a territory. So they're warning other males of their territory, stay out of my territory. They might even fight off other males too. They don't get along with other males at all. These guys are one of the few type of amphibians that have teeth. So on their bottom jaw right here, they have two little vampire teeth. that stick out like that. And that is literally for, well, it's for defense sometimes. These guys might get taken by predators and they might bite to defend themselves. Oh, sorry, Instagram. I know you can't see it all. But they'll also fight other males for territorial purposes and for females. But the females see two males fighting. Whoa, what was that? I don't know what's happening. If they see two males fighting, the females might think that's really impressive and choose one of the males that's the strongest. But also the singing helps to attract mates, battling with other males, like I said, and what else? And as soon as they establish their territory, they'll start mating with females. And those females will lay the eggs, of course, and those eggs go into the water. But guess what? He doesn't leave the babies. He actually stays with the babies throughout being eggs. So he'll guard all of his eggs. They're in the water, and he's just kind of around them, guarding them from predators. That's another reason why they have the teeth, is to guard those eggs. And then he will guard the tadpoles, because those eggs turn into tadpoles, right? They hatch out. And then the tadpoles turn into polywogs, and eventually they turn into little bullfrogs. And by then, they can usually go on their own, and they're okay. And every dry season, it'll repeat. So every year, when it comes to the dry season again, they'll go into that hibernation, get in their bag, and they'll wait for the water to come back. And isn't that incredible? So one thing that they also do is when it does get too dry because those tadpoles actually take a long time to mature. So if they're still tadpoles and needing water during that next dry season, he will actually dig and dig and dig underground, or dig a trench for other waterways to come into his pond. So he has very, very strong parental instincts. Now, again, I don't know if Francis is a boy or a girl. We picked a gender neutral name, Francis. But if he's a male, he's going to be quite large, about yay big. Nice big frog. It'll be really cool. At that size, these guys can eat things like rodents and all kinds of things. In fact, now he can eat rodents, just tiny ones. He's showing his butt to you guys now. So what questions do we have? He's actually being really active right now. These guys are usually very inactive. Yes, Pixie Frog, that is correct. Thank you, Mom, for tagging all of your friends. Totally awesome. Now, these guys aren't toads, they're frogs. They're bullfrogs. Bullfrogs are very similar to toads, but they're still more aquatic than a toad would be. Toads have drier skin. That's usually the difference. That's the main difference. Usually drier in general. And he does look huge. I know, he looks really, really big next to the camera. I'm glad he looks so big and impressive right now. He is getting bigger and bigger little by little. Maybe he'll end up being female because, I mean, a little smaller. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see the end result. So if he or she is smaller, female. If he or she is really big, male. And if they start singing, that is a telltale thing as well. So most frogs, females don't really sing or make croaking sounds. The males do that. The males will call out and sing. So if he starts doing that, then we'll know. Let's see. Are a lot of frogs deadbeats? Yeah, so there's a lot of amphibians that don't care for their young whatsoever. Now, they still have their territories that they more or less guard, but most of them don't really care for their young. I say most, but a lot of them don't. Good question. Vampire frog. Yes, they do have those teeth on the bottom. It doesn't feel great to get bitten by this species. I've been bitten by not this one, but other ones, and it's not fun. And on that same vein, Ricardo asks, does his bite hurt? Is it poisonous? No, not poisonous, not venomous. These guys have a little bit of toxin in their skin. So if I were to like eat him, I might get a bellyache. But most frogs do have a little bit of toxin in their skin. And that is to deter predators from eating them. But a lot of animals have adapted to be able to still digest that type of toxin. It's not that severe in this species. In fact, this species can be eaten by humans too. To my knowledge, these guys are actually eaten in Africa by people that live there. So every now and then they will hunt them because they are very large and they do have a lot of meat on them for a frog. But no, not poisonous, not venomous, not traditionally poisonous at all, not too toxic. Richard asks, could he eat a small colubrid? Sure. So this type of frog, once they are sizable like that, they'll eat anything that fits into their mouth. In fact, at this size, he'll eat anything that fits into his mouth. Not picky at all. They basically just eat whatever fits in there as long as it's another animal. They're not picky. They don't really eat vegetables, but yeah, why not? I won't eat him. I promise. I will not do that. But yes, they could definitely eat a snake. Snake, fish. other frogs, they eat each other sometimes. So if his parental instincts are not there and it's just like another frog, maybe another species or something like that, they'll eat each other. So who wants to see them eat? I bet you guys are excited. Let's make sure the angle is good for everyone. And I'm going to feed him several times, so don't worry if you miss it like the first time or anything. I think that's pretty good. We have challenges with like glass and acrylic and things. So I've got several bugs to feed him. And again, I say him, but I don't really know the gender. Maybe we can have a gender reveal once we feel like we know. Wouldn't that be fun? So come over here. Let me just kind of tap him to the front so you can see him a little better. Come here. Ugh. So chubby. So I'm going to give him a worm first. How about that? How about that? I'll show you guys the worm. It's a super worm. See the super worm? I've also got all of my feeder items today, the worms and bugs I'm feeding them. I've got them dusted with calcium, which is really important. These guys are not invertebrates, so they have bones, and it's important for them to get their calcium. And it's also important for them to get vitamins, so they've got vitamins on there too. Here he goes. Yeah. That was a good feeding response, huh? These guys eat really well, usually. And once he's done, we'll give him another one. Don't want to give it to him until he's ready. So frogs will actually swallow by shutting their eyes. So notice how he swallows next time we feed him. You may have noticed it already. Here's our dubia roach. This is a feeder type roach that is very healthy for reptiles and amphibians, etc. Oh, take it, buddy. Here. See that? See him shutting his eyes to swallow? Those eyes are big and bulbous on top of his head, right? That helps him to see above the water. If he's in the water, he can see above the water and look out for everything, and look out for prey and look out for predators. But those eyes also help him to swallow. So all frogs, to my knowledge, do that. They'll kind of sink their eyes into their head to help them swallow. Isn't that weird? But I think it's amazing. Let's see if we can turn around facing you guys a little bit better. Although this is a pretty decent angle. Let's get rid of this. Clean you up a little bit. Everybody wants to see. Hopefully you guys can see it. Pretty cool. Another worm. There you go. Let him get it on his own. He's perfectly capable of doing that. You see how they kind of use their hands? They actually don't use their hands like this with palms towards us like we would think. They use their hands backwards like this. Like this. Isn't that cool? So they'll kind of like, they'll be sitting like this. And if a worm or something crawls by, they have that feeding response. Their tongue goes out like this. They have a very sticky tongue, kind of like a chameleon, but not nearly as long. Just sticky. A lot of animals have sticky tongue. He has a very sticky tongue. And then he'll use his little hands like this and put it in his mouth, swallow with his eyes like that. Pretty incredible. Let's give him some more. These guys can eat quite a bit, and it's, you know, they act like they're always starving all the time. He's not. I feed him a lot, as you can see. Oh, yum, yum. Get it on your own, then. You dropped it. Uh-oh. Did he get it? I don't think he did. I can't see from where I'm at. I'll give him another one. It's okay if he misses one. I'll get him later. Here you go. Yeah, that's so cool, right? See how he shuts his eyes like that to eat? So cool. I love them. They're so neat. And it's so neat how they take care of their babies like that. Good job. Is that for me or for the frog? Either way, thank you. Thank you guys for being excited about feeding. Yes, that is neat how they shut their eyes. That's how that helps them swallow. He is being a good sport. I agree. Hi guys on Instagram. Ha ha ha. Someone on Instagram says, it looks like he waved hi and winked his eye at us. Kinda. But they do that for a reason, right? Got my bugs here. Here you go. As you can see, they are kind of hungry little hippos. These guys do not, they really enjoy their food is what I'm trying to say. They don't miss too many meals. Come on, buddy. Bad aim? Now, these guys are opportunistic carnivores, so anything that comes by his face, if it looks like food, he's going to try to eat it. So that can be good and bad, right? Sometimes it might not be a healthy thing that walks by or to eat. For example, this dirt I use is a soil that's not going to be harmful to him. And you might have seen earlier that when he kind of got some dirt stuck in his mouth, he kind of brushed it out like that with his little paws. Now he's cleaning his little face with his hands. They're so freaking cute. Okay, how about a worm? Here you go. You want to get it off the ground? No? Like, oh, it's on my eye. They are so cool. Kind of looks like Kermit the Frog right now. Joffrey said, is it Joffrey or Jeffrey? I'm sorry, with the G, I never know how to pronounce it. Jeffrey says, my chameleon would swallow the same way. Yeah, kind of. They kind of do that a little bit. And he is being a good sport. I think he was fantastic. Well, I've got a few more bugs to feed him, and then we'll move on to our next animal. Now, frogs, I don't know if you guys know, frogs are really, really important for the ecosystem. There are a lot of endangered species of frogs. He's not one of them, thank goodness. These guys are actually doing okay out there in the natural environment. But a lot of things can affect frogs, like climate change. If it's not raining enough, these guys might be affected because they rely on being wet. They rely on rainfall to reproduce, etc. So not enough rain might really affect them, right? That is climate change. Another thing that affects these guys is toxins in the water and trash in the water. So all amphibians have very, very sensitive skin. They're the ones that are most affected by chemicals and by trash and by things that shouldn't be in their waters. And that is all a man-made problem, unfortunately, right? So we want to be very, very proactive in not littering, recycling whenever possible, reducing the plastic that you do use, right? That way it doesn't end up in the environment. But also chemicals. So if you guys are treating weeds in your yard, you want to make sure and use something natural or just pull the weeds, or use something that is not harmful to frogs or other animals. Because once say if you're using like Roundup, please don't use Roundup. It's very, very toxic to all wildlife and even you. It is straight poison. Don't use Roundup on any plants. Because later on, if it rains, that rain is going to wash the Roundup or the weed killer into the rest of the environment. It might go into the street. It might go into the storm drain and affect animals that live all the way into the lakes and rivers and oceans. You gonna get that, Roach? You almost got it. There you go. So that can really, really harm them. So we want to make sure and be responsible with disposing of any chemicals that you're using to clean or anything else. We don't want to just wash them into the environment, right? And these guys are what we call indicator species, which means that they're affected first by environmental change. So what happens is if something happens to our environment that's going to be not so great, these amphibians will get affected first. And then if they're gone, who else is going to show us that the environment is not doing so well? There's a lot of animals that show us that, right? So we have to pay attention. But frogs are really, really important. Oh my goodness, that was very, very dramatic. Frogs are really important, and they should be protected. That's what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of endangered species of frogs. Another way you can actually help out is by supporting zoos and aquariums that have frogs. Most of those zoos and aquariums will be breeding frogs and doing lots and lots of conservation when it comes to frog conservation. There are frogs all over the planet that need our help. These guys, again, they're from Africa. They're an African bullfrog, otherwise known as the Pixie Frog. This was Francis, and I thought he did a fantastic job. Let me know if you guys have any questions about him or her. We will find out at some point what the gender is, right? Very, very cute. Okay. And don't forget, for those of you just joining us, my name is Amanda. Today we have a live snake feeding. That does not mean a live food item. We don't feed live food items to our animals. We aren't about that, and we certainly don't record it on camera. Speaking of camera, I'm going to check my camera once again. I'll be right. I'm so sorry that I have to keep doing that. I just want to be proactive about it. So yeah, it's not going to be a live rodent that we're feeding to our snake here, but it will be on live stream. So that's why we say live snake feeding, just to clarify. Just letting you know that's going to be happening at the end of the program. Fantastic. Francis, thank you. He is fantastic. I agree. Frogs are amazing. Frogs are very, very important. Like I said, they're indicator species. They let us know how the environment is doing. They're kind of like the canary in the coal mine. Have you ever heard that saying? Back in the old days when the coal miners would go down, they would take a canary or a sparrow in a little cage with them. If there were fumes coming up from the coal mine, that sparrow would actually start acting up or pass away first before humans do. So it's a warning. It's a warning to all of us. So very, very important to promote frog conservation. Another really fun thing that you can do for toads and frogs in your own backyard is creating what we call a toad abode. That is basically creating a little home for them. So sometimes when we move into an animal's environment, like a neighborhood, you know, is built around where animals live. Animals still live in your own backyard, right? Like frogs and toads. Very, very important animals that eat a lot of bugs, mosquitoes, flies, roaches, all those things. And like you saw him eating up all the bugs, they eat harmful bugs to us. So they're very important, and they're very important species for all kinds of things. But one way to help toads and frogs in your own backyard, kids and adults, if you want to, while you're at home, you can create these things. If you take a little flower pot, you cut it in half, you'll have two little caves for frogs to live in. You can put them out in your yard, and you'll see frogs actually moving into them, usually during the day. They come out at night, right? Usually. Most frogs are nocturnal. And they'll have somewhere to shelter and live during the day. Isn't that cute? That's one way you can help out animals in your own backyard. There's many other ways too. Let's see. Instagram. We have some questions on Instagram. I'm glad your audio is working very, very good. Do frogs have good or poor vision? They have really good vision. I can't remember if they have color vision. That's something to look up. I've had a lot of questions lately about color vision in animals, more so than I ever have in my whole life. So it's something I've had to re-look up and try to get right. I'll look that up for you and see how good their vision is. But frogs definitely have good vision. That's probably their main sense, to be able to hunt and be able to find their food. So when things come by, they're able to see them. Yes, very good vision. All right, so before we feed our snake here, David, we're going to meet one more species. And we went from frogs to something that frogs like to eat. So I know we were feeding the frog roaches, but this is a different species of roach. Are you guys ready for roaches? I know some of you guys are phobic when it comes to roaches. I actually am too. So a lot of people ask me what animal I'm afraid of. Number one is monkeys. Monkeys are kind of scary to me. I used to work with monkeys, and they're kind of frightening sometimes. They're cute, but they're a little spooky. But also these guys. So, pardon me. These guys are Madagascar hissing cockroaches. Can you see them? I don't know how well you can see them. Make sure I'm in focus. And over on Instagram, can you see that? So we have several roaches here. Let me just get them settled in my hand really fast. We have several of them. But this species, these guys are a different species than like your kitchen cockroach, right? The kitchen cockroaches have wings. They move very, very fast. And those roaches are actually harmful to people because they carry diseases and other things that we definitely don't want. But Madagascar hissing cockroaches are not an animal with wings. They are not a pest animal. They are not considered to be harmful at all to humans, or else I wouldn't be holding one. They can't bite. They can't fly. They're not so bad. They're kind of like a beetle or something like that. Every now and then they'll have a burst of energy and move very quickly. So if that happens and they fall, by the way, they're perfectly fine. These guys have a lot of exoskeleton armor on their body, so they can take a fall really well. In fact, in Madagascar, where they're from, a lot of times they'll climb up trees and then just like dive bomb off of the tree to get away from predators. So that's one of the ways that they can stay safe. So they're perfectly fine if that happens. I've got one jumping right now into my lap. Now, you might be wondering, okay, so, oh, there goes one now. You might be wondering, okay, so if I'm afraid of roaches, how can I hold these guys? Well, I had to get used to it. It wasn't great at first. I didn't really like it at first. But I got used to them. So you can see they jump sometimes. They just kind of take a dive. And come on, camera. Cooperate. There we go. It just took some getting used to. They're kind of crawly, but they're not so bad. They don't fly. They don't try to like hide underneath your doorways and things. They're not too bad. I just had to get used to it. Now, why are they? Well, they're from Madagascar. They're called Madagascar hissing cockroaches for a reason. But why do they call them hissing cockroaches? Well, these guys do hiss. They're one of the few type of insects that can actually make a noise. There's other ones like cicadas and things, right? So they're not actually making vocalizations like with their mouth, like we vocalize. We vocalize with vocal cords and we talk like that. These guys are very different in the way that they communicate. So can you see the little dots on his abdomen? So when we talk about insects, you've got a head, thorax, and abdomen, 3 body parts. See on Instagram if you can see. If you can't, just trust me, they're there. So there are these little kind of like pore-like holes on his abdomen there. That is actually where they breathe and also where they hiss. So the reason that they hiss is to stay safe. So a lot of these times in Madagascar, this is the food source for other animals, like frogs. Like, one animal that really eats them a lot is lemurs. Lemurs eat Madagascar hissing cockroaches quite a bit. It's one of their favorite foods. So Madagascar hissing cockroaches stay safe from lemurs sometimes by pretending to be the lemur's predator. So the lemur's main predator is, well, the fossa. Fossa is a mammal, but another main predator of them is going to be snakes. So a similar species to David, which is another type of boa constrictor, it's called the Dumerul's boa. Dumerul's boas live in Madagascar. Madagascar, by the way, is an island off of the coast of Africa. It's in the African continent. But there's not too many large predators in Madagascar. There's only a few of them. One of them is a boa constrictor species. Not this one, but a different one. But they will hiss to sound like a snake, and hopefully the lemurs will jump away and the Madagascar hissing cockroach can be safe. But that's why they hiss usually. They have a couple of different types of hisses though. So the male, this is a male by the way, he's got 2 little bumps right there on his head area. His head area, his little section there. He's got 2 little bumps on top of his head. See the bumps? They're not very big, but they're there. That's how we can tell he's a boy, because the females don't have the bumps. But the males will actually have a different type of hiss to sing to their lady friends and try to get mates. That's a whole other different type of hiss. To us, it probably sounds the same, but to them, one is for love and one is for defense. And yes, they do creep me out too sometimes. This is something I had to get used to over the years of working with animals, is holding Madagascar hissing cockroaches. And again, I was feeding dubia roaches to the frog. Don't tell these guys that, but I was feeding the frog roaches, and but that was a different species. So dubia roaches are more like feeders. These guys, not to say that they couldn't be fed to something too, but they're kind of big for Francis to eat. And these guys make really good animal ambassadors, so I don't want to feed them to anything. I'd rather have them to show you guys, right? And again, these guys are not pest animals. They're actually beneficial. Here's another male. You see the horns on top of his head. They're very beneficial because they are detritivores. Whoa, detritivores. Guys, it's already been a long week and it's only Wednesday. These guys are detritivores. That means they eat detrite. Carnivores eat carn. Herbivores eat herbs. Just kidding. Herbivores eat plants. Carnivores eat meat. Detritivores eat dead and decaying plant matter and soil. So what these guys do is they'll eat dead plants that are found on the forest floor of Madagascar, where the jungle is, and they will actually eat those plants and things and some of the soil, and then it passes through their body, of course, and they use the restroom, and by the time it passes through their system, it comes out as fresh soil for the environment. So they actually create a healthy soil for new plants to grow. So they're nature's recyclers. So they'll eat the dead plants and then it comes out as healthy soil. Very, very cool. About to take a dive too. I'm just kind of switching roaches as they start feeling uncomfortable. Yeah, isn't that cool? These guys are very, very important, not just as a food source to other animals, but as detritivores, recycling soil and making the earth nice and healthy for plants and animals, right? Because if we have healthy plants, then we have healthy plants for animals to eat, and then we have healthy herbivores, and then we have healthy carnivores that are eating healthy herbivores. That makes sense. So it's a circle of life. We got to have, kind of these guys too to take care of the soil in the first place to make the earth healthy. So Madagascar really benefits from having these guys around. And they are pretty common throughout Madagascar. They are all over the place as long as there's a good environment for them to enjoy. Over on Instagram, I have ended. I'm going to share it to my story if you guys are on Instagram. And then I'm going to start over All right, I knew that would happen, you guys. Oh, it's paused. I knew that would happen, you guys, so we're going to continue the rest of the program on a separate segment. My name is Amanda. This is Once in a Wild, and this is one of our Madagascar hissing cockroaches. The rest of the program should be sharing to my story in just a little bit. Those of you all over here, take a look at that roach. This is kind of a cool way for you guys. High five? No, don't please high. This is kind of a cool way for you guys to like learn about animals you might be leery of, right? You're safe ways away right now. Now again, normally we do live animal programs in person. When things get back to normal, we'll be back at it again. And maybe you guys can conquer some of your fears and hold some of our Madagascar hissing cockroaches in a live animal program. In fact, a lot of people do that in my animal programs. We have tarantulas, we have snakes, we have all kinds of things that people might be a little bit scared of, and I can help you get over your fears in a safe way. These guys are perfectly safe to hold. In fact, we're a lot more dangerous to them than they are of us, right? To us. And a lot of people end up holding these guys and they see that they're not so bad. Bugs aren't too bad, right? Overall, bugs are pretty cool. Bugs are really important. Bugs feed a lot of animals and they take care of the environment, don't they? Now, I'm not telling you guys to go catch roaches in your own kitchen or backyard or your shed or whatever. Those are totally different species. These are Madagascar hissing cockroaches and they are not dirty. One really neat thing to keep clean, these guys are really cool and it's almost impossible to see because it's so small, but these guys have their own cleaning crew on them. So on each and every Madagascar hissing cockroach is a special little mite, and a whole lot of them that only live on Madagascar hissing cockroaches, and they're all over the roaches. And they're very tiny, you can barely see them. They're not microscopic or anything, but they're super small. And those mites actually help them to stay clean. They eat off all the dead skin. They eat off some like dirty things like leftover foods and things. Speaking of which, I also brought them some food. Maybe we'll see if they want to eat too. These guys don't eat rats or bugs. They eat leaves and vegetables. So I have brought some vegetables to feed them here in a little bit. See if they'll eat on camera. If not, then oh well. But we'll feed them to them regardless. But they have their own cleaning crew, those mites that are all over them, crawling all over the place. Isn't that weird? But kind of cool. Yes. The circle of life. Jameson says, yes, I'm going to pass on collecting roaches. I don't blame you. And cool cleaning crew. Yeah, it's kind of neat. It's like an onboard cleaning crew. They have their own maid service all the time. And they just kind of live there. And that's called a symbiotic relationship. So a symbiotic relationship means that those animals benefit from one another. So the Madagascar hissing cockroach, there's all the roaches. Madagascar hissing cockroaches, have those mites and those mites have them. The mites need somewhere to live and something to eat. You guys can see them on Instagram. Oh, so many bugs. And yeah, they benefit from one another. And the roaches stay clean and healthy and the mites have somewhere to live and something to eat. Speaking of something to eat, let's go ahead and feed these guys. Maybe I should put this back so you guys can see them. Let's see if we can feed them and see if they eat for us. So I brought them a few items to eat. And we'll just give them a chance to eat it. This guy's like doing weird things. There we go. Haha. And again, I'm sorry for all the glares. It's kind of annoying. Now, my roaches don't have names, by the way. I have 8 of them. 8 adults and many, many babies that they created. There's lots of baby roaches, and I'm hanging on to those guys, too. Hopefully, they'll grow up and be big roaches someday. But they don't have names because I really can't tell them apart. As they molt, they kind of look different, each molt, and I mean, I can tell male from female, but it'd be hard to name them and tell them apart, to be honest with you. Maybe that makes me a bad animal person, but I really can't tell the difference. So there's some old banana. They like that. Here's some sweet potato. And some romaine. And that is all that remains of their food. So we'll see if they want to eat that or not. It might take them a minute to realize that all of that is there. I don't know how well y'all can see that. But there they are. All these foods are really, really good for them. And if they don't eat right now, that's okay. Remember, these guys are detritivores, which means they normally eat dead and decaying plant matter, and they turn all of that into soil through their digestion. So it's going to go through their system, like I said, and then it's going to pass through, like all animals have to go to the bathroom, and when it comes out the other end, it's nice, healthy soil for the environment, for the plants to grow again. It is just a big circle of life. So I guess they're not going to eat right away. I guess if they start eating, I'll show you guys how they eat. They kind of use their little jaws like this, and they eat the food. Of course, all insects have 3 body parts, antenna, and 6 legs. They also have all of those things. So here is, I'll show you his little head. He'll let me. Little head there in the front, right here with the eyes on top. 3 main body parts. Head is underneath, thorax, abdomen. It's kind of curling up, it's hard to see. And his legs are underneath him. These guys are very well armored and safe in general of falling and all those things. Very, very heavily armored. And there's the legs. The legs are underneath. They can climb almost any surface. These guys can actually climb right up the... He's taking a dive again. Oh, you're okay. You're okay. These guys can climb right up the surface of glass. They're such good climbers. They have amazing little claws on their legs, but they do have 6 legs, just like all insect species. Okay, he's ready to go down. Eat some banana. Okay, we're going to put these guys away. I'll keep an eye on them to see if they're munching down their food. And let's go ahead and feed this guy because, again, today we have a snake feeding. Are you guys excited? I hope you guys enjoy it. For those of you that are uncomfortable with me feeding a snake in front of you, that is okay. I would now turn off the program if you are not comfortable with that. Let's see if we have any questions on Instagram really fast. Gemini 1379 says, my biggest fear is sharks. That is very understandable. Most sharks will never ever harm you. They're very, very good for the environment. And as you stay away from them, there's no way you can get harmed by a shark. Most sharks don't want anything to do with humans whatsoever. But I do understand because that's a big animal potentially that could technically harm you, right? So we're getting ready to feed our boa constrictor here. And don't worry, I will move him so that everybody can see. And he is also, he's kind of moved over, but he will move towards the food. This is your last warning about snake feeding. I'm going to take this banner down from you guys on Facebook and YouTube. And make sure he's in a good position to be able to see everything. That's probably good. And again, this is just a tank I use for display on shows, programs, things like that, and not what he lives in. But it's a good option to be able to feed your snake maybe in a separate enclosure sometimes. Feeding your snakes in their own enclosure is fine too, but it's kind of convenient if they will eat in another space because you can clean and you can, take care of their enclosure and all of that while they're eating. That's a really convenient thing, but just a tip. I don't know why I said that, just because. Okay, so who's ready? I guess they're saying the roach is mad. I think he was just like, was that a hiss? I don't know. My hearing is terrible, so I didn't hear anything, but he might have hissed a little bit. And everybody else is saying that you heard the hiss, so maybe so. They definitely can hiss when they feel upset, so maybe so. Haha, I'll have to watch this program back and see if I can find the hiss too. I think Donna is watching, Bonnie. I just don't know if she's chiming in. She also, she might be out still, but I think she's home now. So we'll see. She always watches the program, whether it's now or afterwards. Hello, Sophia. Nice to see you. Let's make sure I say hi to everybody. And Bonnie, Priscilla, Sophia. Everybody's here. Hooray. I love all your emojis. They're so cute. So yeah, maybe our roach did hiss. Okay, guys, so we're getting ready to feed our snake. Like I said, warning, warning, warning. I do have a medium rat for the snake. Normally he eats large rats, but I don't want to feed him too big. Sometimes it's good to kind of vary that, and he'll get another medium rat probably next week, and that's plenty of food for him. So one more time to check my camera really fast. Are you guys ready for the feeding? I'm ready. It's really fun to feed snakes. I don't get any pleasure out of like feeding animals to other animals, but it's what they eat, and we want to make sure that these guys are healthy, right? So we have to do what we have to do. Somebody's got to do it. I'm just going to open this a little bit like this, and he should come right towards where I put the food. And remember, this food is not alive. It has been frozen and thawed out for them, which is what I recommend. If you have snakes that are picky eaters, I do understand. But in general, you should be feeding snakes, all you snake keepers out there should be feeding snakes frozen thawed food that is properly thawed at the right temperature. And then feed it to your snakes. It's much healthier for the snake to not get attacked by its food, and it's much better for the food because they've been humanely euthanized prior to feeding it to the snake. If that is possible, I do recommend that. So we're ready? We're ready. Here's our rat. I have it on tongs here, and we'll see how he feels about it. Maybe I need to wake him up first. Wakey, wakey. He is a very good eater, so I would be very surprised if he did not eat. Oh, yes. I think he has detected the food with maybe a little wave of my hand will help. See the tongue? I know y'all see the rat. Come on, David. He's definitely interested. He's waking up. He might have been resting and maybe zoned out asleep. Remember, snakes don't have eyelids. They can't shut their eyes. I need to pay attention to what I'm doing. Here he comes. Come on, David. Oh. Might take a minute. David. Snakes can't hear either, so me calling his name isn't really helping. I'm just narrating what's going on. I would be very surprised if he did not eat for us. But I guess that's his choice. I wiggle it around a little bit. Come on, buddy. He seems interested. He's got his tongue out and everything else. Maybe if we wake him up a little bit. Come here, sweetheart. Wake up. Now, of course, I don't want to get bit either, so I'm not going to push it too much. And, you know, animals sometimes do what they want. I'm not going to force them to do anything. Our rat might be a little cold, too. It's thawed, though. Just a little cold. Okay, let's try again. Come here, David. Come on, buddy. And again, he's in a different environment than he normally would be when eating. So there's always that, too. Come on, kiddo. This is very unusual behavior for our buddy David. So maybe we need to wake him up a little bit first. He is in kind of a strange position, all folded over himself. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of nudge him awake a little bit more. Not harming him in any way, just kind of waking him up a little bit. And we're going to try again. If he doesn't eat, and we're sorry. We'll try another snake another time. But David is almost always willing to eat for us, so I'm very, very shocked. That is why I picked him, and he hasn't eaten his meal yet this week, so he should be very, very hungry. I think he's going to do it now. Here, buddy. Being shy today. This is unusual. Our rat might be a little cold. I do apologize. He is moving around very pretty, though. I'm going to warm up the rat a little bit with my own warmth of my hands a little bit. That is very unusual for him. I do apologize. He is usually such a good eater. It might just be the change in environment. He's never eaten out here in the studio, but he always eats every time I feed him. So that's very interesting. Yeah, let's hear it for, I know, darn it. I know you guys are excited about it. Usually, so this is a small to medium rat. Usually he'll get a big rat. I just didn't want to feed him a very, very large rat right now. I know it looks big on camera, but it's really not. Come on, David. Let's cheer for him. I know, very strange. I'm gonna try to feed him again. Maybe. I can't reach that far. I'm not gonna get hurt. Maybe on this side? Kiddo. It's time to eat the rat. Sorry for my position. Come on. It's delicious. You know what? Sometimes animals don't do what you think they're going to do they? That is very strange. He's usually the best eater ever. Ugh, I don't know how to hold this thing properly. Well, at least our frog ate. I'm sorry, guys. I guess we have a bust. I'm so sorry about that. Maybe if I, oh, guess what? Our roaches are eating bananas. Oh my goodness, it's so funny. I didn't expect the roaches to eat, but they are. They're eating. We'll try David here in a little bit again. I'm disappointed that he's not eating for you guys. But check out that roach eating the banana right there. Isn't that cute? Bet you never thought you'd hear that sentence. The roach is eating the banana. See him eating it? Delicious. Is that Instagram you want to see? The roach eating the banana right there, right where the comments are. Yum. Well, David, I'm really, really shocked. He literally has never not eaten for me. But again, animals sometimes are unpredictable. And yeah, what questions do we have? I know, so disappointing. Thank you for saying it's okay. I know you guys are all excited. Maybe we'll try again. How do you feel, David? Are you doing okay, my love? You're okay, buddy. I'm just gonna kind of move him over a little bit. What do you think? You guys can see how he flicks his tongue and he seems interested. He does, and then he just doesn't want it. Well, we'll have to feed him another time. Sad face. Sorry, guys. Well, that's been our program. Sorry for all the hype. I really thought that he would go for it. Maybe I'll do a little bonus segment on Instagram. You guys can go over to Instagram and see a snake eating. I'll find you guys a snake in our family that will eat and eat well. And we'll do that. How about that? How about we do a bonus segment over on Instagram? Sorry for the bust with David. But sometimes animals don't cooperate. That's how animals are sometimes, just like children. It does happen. So I guess that has been our program, and I do apologize once again. This is me, Amanda, with Once in a While. Thank you guys for watching today. He was beautiful regardless, right? He is a beautiful snake, and he will eat at some point, I promise you. He's a good eater. He's a good boy. David Boa is a Columbian Boa Constrictor, for those of you that missed it. Well, thank you guys for watching and joining. I hope you enjoyed the rest of our segment. And once again, these live stream. Hope you enjoyed our live stream. These live streams are free of charge, but we do have a couple of ways that you can help us out if you have it in your heart to do so. One is on Venmo at Once in a While. It's scrolling down below on Facebook and YouTube here. At Once in a While is how you can tip us in Venmo and how you can donate to us, of course. We also have our Amazon wish list, which you can find at onceinaWhile.com. If you go to onceinaWhile.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom where it says donate to our cause. There's a big box down there that says that. You can't miss it. It is huge. And you just click on that box and it takes you straight to our Amazon wish list where you guys can provide us animal items that we have pre-selected from that wish list. And you can ship them right to our doorstep, which is really convenient and very appreciated. Another way you can help us out is by booking your very own Zoom room animal encounter. So Zoom rooms are custom animal encounters, kind of like this. You have a virtual animal encounter on Zoom, and you can customize which animals you would like to see. You can let me know how long you would like the duration of the program to be, and however many people you want to invite is up to you. Those are great for classroom experiences, for office team building experiences, and just like a break in your day, something fun to do. You can also do them for parties. We had a party this morning. That was really, really fun. So all kinds of things. So let me know if you would like a Zoom room. You can call me or text me or email me or get a hold of me on social media to book your own Zoom room. You guys have been fantastic. And I'm so sorry once again about David. That was really strange. This never happened. So maybe I'll either record him eating in his own enclosure. Maybe I'll go do that. Maybe on Instagram, I'll do a little bonus encounter. Well, I'll go to his enclosure and we'll see if he'll eat in there. How about that? I'll do that here in a little while. So just stay tuned on Instagram, okay? Sorry, guys, on Facebook and YouTube. We'll see you next time. And we do have other animal feedings throughout most of our programs too. So you'll be able to see another one, I promise. And we'll see you guys next time. We'll close out with our jingle as usual. Thank you guys so much for joining in. We'll see you on Friday at 3:30 Central Time. We're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3:30. We'll see you next time. Bye.